I'm going to talk about the issue of vows. Vows are often not given the seriousness and the weight that they deserve to be given, especially in the context of vows to Elohim, especially in the context of the Torah commands. In Numbers 30, verse 2, for example, man that shall vow to YAHUAH, he shall not profane his word, as all of the going forth from his mouth he shall do. So obviously, if we are making vows to Elohim, these are things to be given weight. These are things to be taken with seriousness, because it becomes an issue of keeping the command or not. If we are violating our word or violating our vow to Elohim, it is essentially breaking a command. And so if we are going to bind ourselves in such a way, we need to give it ample consideration, at least in my opinion, that we should approach it thoughtfully and carefully if we want to approach this wisely. And we may have already entered into some vows, and this may enter into the issue of divorce and the issue of marriage, because commonly vows are made in reference to marriage. And a lot of these vows include things like, until death do we part, and so forth. And so if we have made such a vow and we are keeping it, then this may prevent us from getting divorced. And we have to consider these vows that we've made. If we've made vows to Elohim, we have to consider them. And of course, in the moment, they may not seem very relevant. In the moment, it may seem like we would never want to consider getting divorced, but that does not always turn out the way we expect. And so this is something to take into consideration, and it might even be a consideration even if we don't intend to enter into such a vow. Because we may have decided that we're getting married, and then we're having a private ritual, or we're not even having any kind of official wedding, so to speak, and just decide, okay, we're joining the household, okay, we're getting married, and that's that. And then we might decide, well, we might as well make it official in the eyes of the state and so forth. And so we might go down to the courthouse and think that we're just going to fill out some paperwork. And then all of a sudden we're being ushered into the courtroom, and the judge is saying, these are these vows that I have prepared for you. Do you agree or not? And in the moment, it might kind of catch us off guard. And of course, as we know, some of these vows are pretty binding. And so this may be something that we unintentionally enter into without much deliberation. And that's something to beware, because it certainly could come up. It certainly could be pressured upon us. Any kind of vow, I highly suggest that it be thoroughly considered beforehand, that all possibilities, as much as possible, be considered in this, and that it be written down and kept for your personal record. This is not an issue of the commands, but it could be very useful that if you ever decide to enter into a vow, that it be done cautiously, and that it be done in such a way that you know exactly what it was that you entered into at that point. Because later on, you probably won't remember exactly what that vow was. So if we're making a vow to Elohim, we need to be aware of that. And of course, as it pertains to the issue of marriage, this may relate to whether we can get divorced at all or not, and still be keeping that command. Still be keeping the command of not profaning our word.